right, we're going to go and, hello, welcome to Knox Makers. This is Tuesday, so now that means for the past 14 years or so, every Tuesday we gather together, open to the public, have a show and share where we show off projects we're working on, and so that's what we're going to do again tonight. We have a sign-up list that people signed up some things for, and so we're going to start with that. First up is Bill, who shows some kind of knife. I can't read the writing, I'm sorry. Ulu knife.
But anyway, as you can see, it's an ulu knife. I bought the blade at a woodcraft shop, so I cheated. I should have come into the metal shop, should have gone out to the blacksmith shop, but I'm not certified on any of that yet. But anyway, I could buy the blade at the woodcraft shop, and then you put the handle on it. And so when we were in Alaska, the Inuits and all the other native tribes or native people would use this style of knife with the rounded here. It's made for curling and cutting that way, or they would fillet fish. It was a utility knife that they used for everything. And so I liked it. It was really neat. And so I said, okay, if I got that, I have a pile of walnut at home that's in my scrap pile. And you only need it's 2 inches wide, 5.5 inches long, and 1 inch thick. So I had a ton of walnut that I could make candles. And Christmas is right around the corner. And so hopefully this will turn out. I have 3 more on the workbench. 2 of them are engraved with the names of the people that are going to get them. And so, again, this is finished with a wood conditioner that's made with mineral oil and beeswax so that it's food safe. The base that I have there, just a little holder, is just a chunk of scrap, walnut, live edge left over lying around the floor, and put a little groove in it so it could stand up and look nice. Because it is sharp, I've left the plastic on it so that I don't get cut, or somebody else, if they handle it, doesn't get cut. But this is something that I did. Making of the handle was maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe a little less, and very simple, very straightforward. My templates for doing the rounds are a spray paint can, a can of CA activator, glue, and paint can with a little freehanding. And so whatever you have lying around, you can make whatever you need to make. You don't need a whole lot. I do have I'm fortunate where I have a belt sander, the oscillating up and down spindle sander, and so I'm able to do that at home and make it pretty easy and pretty fast. So bandsaw out, get it close, sand it down, router to the edges, sand a little more, then sand a little bit more, and then sand some more just because, and then you're done. And it comes with holes in the 2 metal shafts where you can put pins in it. And I cheated and I just used a lot of epoxy. And so from what I've seen, I have a knife that my dad made over 50 years ago that the handle was epoxied on, no pins. I've used it to chop down small trees, really misused it in many different ways, and the handle is still attached. So I figured if it can last 50 years, I will be dead before this falls off and it won't matter. So that's what I did this week. Any questions? Awesome.
Thanks, Bill. And that was a ulu knife, right? Ulu. All right. All right, next up is Aaron, who's going to show off an air cannon.
Yeah. All right, this thing has a story behind it, but I'll show this first. This is my air cannon. I'll just set it here for now. So I have this tree on my property that it comes up and hangs out over the yard, and it's a great spot to put like a swing. So it sticks up about 50 feet off the ground and then about 50 feet away from the trunk of the tree. So my problem is, how do I get a rope up and over there for the swing? So the first attempt at this, I just tied a brick to a string and whipped it up over the branch. I got really lucky and then did it after like my 3rd attempt. Got a rope burn in the process. And you know, that worked okay for a little bit, and I anchored it to a post that's in the ground with a footer. The problem is, over time, when the branch sways in the wind and the swing moves back and forth, that rope is sliding up and down on the branch, so it starts to fray the rope, which is a problem. It also starts wearing the bark away and into the wood, so I took that down, and my thought was, well, if I can get the rope wrapped around the tree branch many times, then I can secure it so that the rope is just swinging and not sliding. So that's where this idea came in for the air cannon, because I need some way to get it up and over the same point every time reliably without, you know, messing around with a string and some bricks. So I'll put this up here. So this, you can see that this handle part right here is 3D printed. And there's pneumatic inserts that go inside this handle with a quick disconnect and then a ball valve to, that I can then attach to a line that goes to a pancake compressor with a regulator, so I can tune the pressure to whatever I need to get it the exact height that I want. So the cross section on the inside of this thing looks like this. So there's a fitting that goes in there. These are just parts I had laying around because I didn't want to spend any money on this thing. So you can see this goes right inside the 3D printed part. So to put that in, I took a vise. This is an interference fit. Inserted a socket head into here, and then a socket on this side, so when I compress it, it has a pocket to extend into. And then the inside here, there is an O-ring seal to seal the pressure, and then drilled holes into the end of the PVC where there's dowel pins, steel pins inserted so that the pressure doesn't push it back out. And then the other end of this thing in cross section looks like this. So that's two 3D printed parts with two O-rings with very light squeeze, just enough to seal the pressure but not provide any friction in the tube. And then a bunch of washers stacked inside that I just happen to have laying around to give it some mass so that it doesn't lose velocity once it exits and has to accelerate the string. And then I bought the cheapest fishing line reel that I could find for, I think I spent like $10 on this thing. So it's not anything fancy, but there's a couple of 3D, sorry about that, a couple of 3D printed pieces here with a sight to help line up the shot, and then a guide for the string. And then the string just connects to the end of this through the hole. So what I do is I launch this up over the branch. Once it gets on the other side, all the way down to the ground, I tie a rope to it, and then pull it back up over the branch, and then just repeat that process many times. And then I got a video here of it in action from this afternoon. You can't really see it very good, but you can, and I don't know how well the sound will come through, but we'll give it a try anyway. Here, start it over. Can't really see it very good, but and that's my show and share. Yeah. Questions?
So, were you contracted by a guy in Gotham City to?
How many bricks can you fit inside that there?
How many of the bricks now? All right.
What else would it shoot?
I don't know. I haven't tried anything else. Well, actually, I do plan on taking this apart and doing the same kind of thing to build like a little rocket air cannon that'll go over it with different payloads I can put on it to do with the kids, but I haven't really planned that out yet, but that's probably my next step with this thing. Mhm.
Your trigger is the ball valve?
Yes.
Okay.
How much height can you get with that?
Right now, if I max out the pancake compressor at about 120 PSI, I can get it to about 100 feet.
I really love the thought process there of starting with a brick and then going straight to a cannon. All right, next up is Wes, who's going to show us HOA sign.
Hello, everybody. So several weeks back, about, I don't know, 12 or 10 weeks ago, I was asked, or there was a mention that somebody needed a sign for their HOA, and I decided to go ahead and bid on it and give them a proposal. Here is the sign. Let's get a good zoom in on it. Here's the original sign that they have. It's about 88 inches long. And as you can see, it looks or appears to have been shot out by a BB gun or a .22 rifle or something like that. So it was in severe disrepair and stuff. That's just, you know, the posts that they had in place. And they were actually pretty strong, the posts that they had, but that's just getting chewed up by lawnmowers and weed whackers and stuff like that over the years. So some more sign or some more holes. I mean, it could have been a woodpecker, who knows, you know, did it, but some of the holes went all the way through. So we think it was a rifle or something like that did it. Anyways, the sign itself is probably made of some sort of fiberboard and probably routed out by hand. We didn't have any information on it and what it was or the type of material it was, unfortunately. But it certainly needed some more TLC and stuff. So it was pretty good. The posts were pretty good shape and stuff like that. They wanted it to be a little bit bigger. I think that was right around 18 inches, maybe 20 inches or so tall. Yep, right through it. And so we went up to 36 inches. This was the final design that the customer approved. In here, looking back at it now, I probably would not have approved the font that they wanted. It's a font called Garamond, I believe it's called, and it has these shadow effects on it. They also wanted it to be made out of wood, and given that all of this here, Niblerbot or even some other CNC would have an extremely difficult time of trying to do this. So we ended up doing it by hand. And I say hand, I mean a laser cutter did it, and we glued it all together. They approved all the colors and things like that and everything in the font, and so we went ahead and got it going. Here is the MDF that we cut out on a laser. You can see right down in there a couple things. One, you can't see that. One, there's a register pin or register hole that we put in place. We made that in the original design, so that way when we go to cut it out on the CNC, we could put pins in here, and so you would have register pins so you would know where to put the letters. So they would line up and everything would be perfect, and you're not trying to struggle to line everything up, and it just gets all wonky. The other part that we added in, and I added in here, was these tabs. And the tabs are really important because they allowed us to be able to keep the shadow effects that they wanted in here without losing them and then trying to glue them on the board later on. Again, not a font I would recommend if you're going to be using making the sign. Once we got the colors approved and stuff like that, we found out that not exactly the color codes that we had translated to what Lowe's had. And so we had to make a slight change in the leaves. Again, the customer was fine with it and stuff like that, so we went with it. And here you can see the tabs and stuff like that in there that we had. All right, so that's just me painting these up. I cut them out. I had to come out twice because we had a 6mm MDF, and then we just glued them up together. And then that also helped gluing them up as well too, because trying to get that stuff aligned really carefully was super difficult. So that's probably about 3 paints a coat, I think. I'm sorry, 3 coats of paint that we put on for that. We used a sacrificial board that we got somewhere in order to test out on the nibbler bot to see exactly if it was going to line up correctly. When we made it in Lightburn and Inkscape, shifting it over to FreeCAD apparently makes circles into squares. And that's just, yeah. So we had to go back and do it, which is not, it wasn't that big of a deal, but I think we had to spend about an hour. I will mention that Bob Berry did help me with this as well too. He's not here tonight, so he takes all the credit for the CNC and of course Billy as well too. But this is us just laying things out, making sure that they all line up correctly and stuff like that, and so forth. So there is Nibblerbot in there, just munching away on their sacrificial piece to make sure everything works correctly and make sure the bits that we have are the size that we need. And the board that we used, and you can see that here, is called MDO. It's a sign board. So it's a multi-density overlay. And there is it's plywood in the middle, and then on each side there's it's like a fiber MDF board almost, but it's made for outdoors. And so that is the front and back of the sign. I'll show you a minute here. You can see kind of in between there, that part would be exposed had we not put a frame around it. And there it is, actually chomping away at the board itself for that trim piece to go in there. All right, so that's just us testing it out, making sure the fit is good. Given that we used a table saw to cut some of the stuff out, it wasn't exactly perfect, but we were able to kind of cover it over with some caulking and things like that and paint and stuff. That's the color they wanted for one of the leaves. I had to do several coats of paint for that as well too. Again, MDF is not something I would recommend for an outdoor wooden sign. There are better materials out there for that. We spent probably about $300 excuse me, in materials, and then the rest went to labor for us. All right, this is it, pretty much all glued up, I think, for the most part. I think a lot of people kind of saw it at this point here. We laid it out there, and we had to do a lot of, fine touch-up work on it. There was some debate about whether or not we should be removing these tabs out. A lot of people said just paint them. Some people said just leave them in. I said no, and I ended up cutting them all out with an oscillating saw. That just proved, just some additional time that we had to go back in and cut out the remaining pieces and repair any damage that I made from it, and then of course paint it up and stuff like that, because now you're exposing it to the elements. This particular trim piece or frame that we made around here was a pre-treated 2x4s. We cut dados in the middle and then cut them to size, and mitered them, glued and screwed them in. They're super tight in there. There's no way those things are coming out at all. But that helps us cover the trim up, or the circumference, I guess, of the sign itself. All right, so that's us going in there, taking it out. There it is, in there. So, thank you. This post here on the right was pretty bowed, and so we had to get several clamps in there. We put several screws, obviously, on the back sides, and we ended up putting more screws on the inside, or the front side as well, too. Really hard to see that part, but you can see we had a concern about water getting in between that lettering and staying in there. So we put just a ton of caulking in there, clear caulking, and so hopefully that will keep it good for at least for the warranty that we've provided for them. Yeah, you know, we also put 2 coats of poly on there as well too, just as a precaution and stuff. So we'll see how long it lasts. I think it's going to last quite a while, right? I think at some point it's going to start fading from the paint and stuff like that. But you know, we really tried to do as much as we could to pretty much cover it up. Any questions on that? On this? Yes.
What steps did you take to make it bullet resistant?
Yes. That was a question we had. Once we were there, we were like, you know, there's a street right outside there, and there's a youth facility right across the street, and yeah, it's not bulletproof at all. I mean, maybe if we put epoxy on it, it might be pretty good, but yeah. Mark.
You said warranty in there. How long is the warranty for?
We gave him 90 days. I give him 90 days for the work that we did on it. Yeah, I think it'll last longer than that and stuff. So, yes.
When you go back a year from now and take pictures and give us an update on how well it lasts?
Sure. I will put it on my calendar to go back and yeah, it's off of Western. It's not far away. So it's, yeah.
Most is missing.
I'm sorry?
Most is missing the little wall.
That's covered up by the leaves. Yeah, it's covered up by the leaves. Yes, question in the back.
Do you have little tabs off after you attach it to the sign?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was a difficult part because when I glued it, I glued the tabs on as well too, which I wish I hadn't done that because it would have been a lot easier to take them off if I hadn't glued the tabs on. And so some of the tabs came off fairly well, some did not, and damaged the piece. But, you know, at a distance, looking at it, you can't even see that. I mean, I look at that thing and I can see every single mark of what we did and where it was and where I forgot something and did that and et cetera. So, yes. Any other questions? Cool. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, that is it for the sign-up list. Does anybody not make it to the sign-up list that brought something tonight? Did something happen today? Anybody? Nope, going once, going twice, all right. We have a ton of classes on the calendar. I'm not sure which ones have tickets left or not, but I'm just going to go over the ones for the next week because we have so many. Tomorrow is embroidery machine off and intro to metalworking. That's both tomorrow. Thursday is woodworking 202. That's advanced turning. I think you need the first turning for that, right? Yeah, so you have to have the first turning to do that one. So woodworking 202, that's on Thursday. And also make wood conditioner. I think that's the first time that class has been offered, I think. So that's also on Thursday. Friday is hand cut dovetails and then make a wet felted vessel, right? That's Friday. Saturday is smocking 2.0. I don't think you need to have smocking 1.0 for that, right? So smocking 2.0. Both of the lasers have classes, Moonraker and Crossbow. There's also stained glass for beginners in arts and crafts. And then also Stitch and Bitch, all on Saturday. So tons of stuff going on Saturday. Sunday is the Byzantine chainmail for beginners. That's the first time we've done that one, I think. Heat press and sublimation off, that's also on Sunday. And then also we're having our board meeting on Sunday. So that's, if you're a member, you're welcome to join that as well. And then the only other thing I'll mention is like next Tuesday is the cookout. Might be a cold one, so that'll be fun. As far as announcements, the only announcements that I have is Tracy says, that Isaac says that there's no announcements today, so. As for that, that's it. Now we're going to go out to the workshop and have some fun.